my name's Sarah Kerwin, and I'm currently the VP of Operations at Sage Natural Wellness. I've been in supply chain and operations my entire career for more than 30 years.
Hi, I'm Nicola Houston. I'm the Senior Director for Supply Chain Development at Canada Goose.
My name is Rhonda Rathburn, and I'm a supply chain consultant with The Owl Solutions.
When I graduated from my degree in mathematics, I had a job offer at Procter & Gamble in inventory management. And at the time, I had no idea what supply chain was all about. I hadn't even really heard of it. But as soon as I started in it, I loved it, continued throughout my career to gain experiences in different parts of supply chain, different industries. What I really love is being able to use data to solve problems. I also enjoy the people leadership side of things and the challenge of trying to optimize both cost and service at the same time. That's what I enjoy.
I found myself in supply chain by fluke. I was an IT project manager and assigned to an inventory replenishment project. I didn't know anything about inventory at the time, so I took a couple of APIX courses. Really enjoyed them, decided to make a move into supply chain and took on more of a supply chain operations role. And I just loved it. I loved the variety that it offered. I loved the pace, and I basically haven't looked back since.
I didn't begin my career with the intention of working in supply chain. In fact, my post-secondary education and first job were both in finance. But I was fortunate enough to work for a company who actively encouraged personal and professional development and career advancement through movement across functions. My first role in supply chain was as a customer supply chain manager. During the more than 25 years that I worked for that company, I was fortunate to advance through many supply chain roles, both in Canada and internationally.
I've worked with a number of great women in supply chain over my career, but I do agree, still underrepresented. And I think it's for the same reason we're underrepresented in STEM subjects. You know, women tend to not go into maths and sciences and engineering. I don't think it's necessary to be an engineer by any stretch of the imagination to work in supply chain. I do think the analytical skills are really important though. So I think many more women could go into the field.
Women are definitely underrepresented within supply chain. It continues to be a male-dominated field. I think there's a lot of different reasons for that. One of which I do believe that systemic barriers and unconscious bias continue to exist in hiring practices and promotion practices within the supply chain field. I do believe that there are roles within supply chain that require a STEM background. And we do know that women are disproportionately represented in STEM programs, although that is changing.
I think one of the reasons that women are underrepresented in the field is that we still don't do a great job in advertising the variety of opportunities that exist. The women I've worked with over the years have come to supply chain from a variety of backgrounds and are some of the most talented critical thinkers, analytical minds, problem solvers, negotiators, and public speakers that I know.
Yeah, so as a woman, there's been a number of challenges for me. So I think the one that many women have, no matter what career area they're in, is just being able to balance both the career and family, especially if you have children. So a couple others that come to mind is, I've worked in a number of really male-dominated industries where at the senior levels, it was literally all men. So you have to be tough. You have to sort of exert your influence, make sure that your voice is heard. And I think sometimes women tend to kind of take a step back and don't know that, they really need to speak up to exist in that kind of environment. The other obstacle really relates to values. So I really firmly believe that employees have to be respected and treated fairly and treated well. And again, I've worked in companies where I felt like my values, especially around how employees are treated, are not the same as the values of the senior leadership of a company, and so I've left. I've made choices to leave and start again, and look for other companies where my values were more in tune with the company's values.
I have faced a number of obstacles in my career journey. I have been in situations where I have been the only woman in a warehouse with hundreds of men. I have been in situations where I've been on the factory floor and had multiple people come up to me and suggest that it was time for me to go home, as I should be waiting for my baby to arrive there. I have been passed over for project work, and when I inquired as to why, I was told, well, you now have a young family, so you don't want to travel.
20 years ago, when I moved from the commercial side to the operational side of the business, the biggest obstacle I faced was a lack of acceptance of women in supply chain. Surprisingly, this lack of acceptance didn't come from my supply chain colleagues or external customers, but from coworkers on the commercial side. As a woman representing supply chain, it took a long time and a lot of effort to gain credibility and respect from my sales and marketing colleagues.
To be successful in supply chain, I really think you need to understand all of the different areas. So, early on in your career, spend a bit of time in planning, a bit of time in distribution and warehousing, a bit of time in manufacturing and purchasing, customer service. I think you can only be successful at my level if you understand how all of the pieces fit together and, what the objectives are of each different area, and then what each area needs from each other. I also think spending some time with vendors and with customers is really important. Supply chain is all about relationships, and in today's world, a company's supply chain is so closely connected to the supply chains of vendors and customers. If you're only inwardly focused, then that's not good either. So trying to get those experiences early on, I think, will make you a better supply chain leader in the long term.
I have 3 pieces of advice. First, the supply chain has so much variety. Take every opportunity to work in as many areas as possible. It will create such a great foundation for you, regardless if you decide to stay in supply chain for the long run or not. Second, in order to be successful in supply chain, you need to have a love of learning. Supply chain has so much innovation going on. It is changing all the time. You'll need to continue to take courses, read articles, read blogs, listen to podcasts, follow supply chain leaders, go to conferences. The list goes on in order to stay current and to stay credible. And finally, get a mentor. I have been so fortunate to be surrounded by strong supply chain female leaders since early in my career. They have provided me with insight, with guidance, with support, with a shoulder when it was needed. Their support has been invaluable in my own personal supply chain career journey.
The best advice that I can give to a woman looking to enter in the supply chain field is to be open to following an unconventional career path. Be willing to accept lateral moves and short-term assignments, volunteer for cross-functional project teams, and be open to roles that might not seem like a good fit on paper, because each of these things will help you develop valuable transferable skills.